11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2. What a fight! I think Romero won it.
Juan, the Hispanic causing panic, Lascano.
Thanks to those joining me live and those that will be joining me on archive, D-Style here. If you're listening on the archive, hit that like button. Again, the goal is always 100 likes. Every time you hit it, we're that much closer. I appreciate everybody. And right now on the live, let's get it started. Let's hit that like button, man. I definitely appreciate you guys. The focus of this video is just to talk about my thoughts and prediction on Tszyu versus Sebastian Fundora and Isaac Cruz against Romero. All right. This video is not to talk about how you don't like it on pay-per-view. This video is not talking about what do you think it's going to do in the box office and the business of boxing and why it shouldn't be, why PBC doesn't know what they're doing. That's not what this video is about, right? Sorry. Right? I just want to put that out there really quick. I know what's going to happen. Somebody's going to come over here and be like, oh, I don't know, man. I don't think this. I get it. Okay. Whatever. Right. Definitely not a narrative-based video. We have plenty of those on other streams, right? So it is what it is. But let's go ahead and get this one started. Shout out to Sports Archives, the Boxing Kangaroo, and Round One already in the chat. I appreciate you guys. All right. And let's get this one started here. First, let's talk about my guy, Isaac Cruz. He's going to be facing Romero, who's the current WBA champion. Whether you like it or you don't. Like, it is what it is, right? Basically, I felt Romero was given that belt in a silver platter. I don't think I don't think that was a valid stoppage. I just don't. Against her guy, Ismael Barroso. Ismael Barroso bounced back and won the interim against O'Hara Davies in dominating fashion. Shout out to him. I mean, he just blasted him. But hey, I thought the old man was putting hands on Romero. Right, I did. I had him ahead of the scorecards. I don't think he was that hurt. Whether Raleigh would have scored the knockout eventually, I don't know. It's because he did catch Barroso a couple times. However, Barroso was also catching him. Not before, like, yeah, it wasn't a good stoppage by 20 weeks. But with that said, shout out to Bruce Goss. How's it going? Raleigh Romero is a solid fighter. He is, for whatever reason, there's a lot of boxing fans out there that hold some type of animosity towards Isaac Cruz for whatever reason. And I have my theory about that. One, he's a fighter, he fights on PBC, right? And for whatever reason, there's people that don't like fighters that are on PBC anyway, like for whatever reason, right? Another reason is he gave Tank Davis a hell of a fight. You could argue maybe it was a draw or that he won that fight, right? And I thought his high guard and the way he was blocking the uppercut of Tank was genius. Tank hurt his wrist in the process. Tank later said it was before the fight bullshit. I call bullshit on that. But nonetheless, he gave Tank all he could handle. Tank and Floyd tried to gaslight people after the fact, saying it wasn't a tough fight and whatever they want to say. But at the end of the day, we all know it was a tough fight, right? And the reason I'm mentioning that is because there's a lot of people that aren't sold on Tank and have a lot of questions about Tank Davis, and rightfully so, right? For whatever reason, like Pitbull Cruz is attached to Tank Davis. He's seen as one of the quote unquote inferior opposition that Tank Davis was facing, while Tank Davis was avoiding the real competition. That is the perception that they're putting out there, right? And for me, like that's I personally, man, like I get, because all that's true, by the way. Tank Davis has been avoiding the best opposition. Tank Davis did not face, a Lomachenko, because Floyd thought, whatever Floyd's reason, I forgot what his reason was, but Floyd Mayweather specifically just wasn't for the fight. They wanted to age out, Lomachenko. Okay, cool. For whatever reason, they wanted to fight Hispanic fighters, and Cruz fits the bill. That's a fight that they did. And for whatever reason, there's a stigma on Cruz that's there and is attached to this whole Tank Davis saga, in my opinion. And then, of course, came later on, the fights getting turned down, and fans weren't happy with that. And I get it, right? But nonetheless, I still think very highly of Isaac Cruz. I think Isaac Cruz, in my opinion, is an underrated fighter, in my opinion, right? Now, some people are going to say, no, like you can say whatever you want. It's my opinion. I believe that he's a lot better than a lot of his detractors. And believe it or not, okay, Isaac Cruz has detractors. Believe it or not, okay, he does. But me personally, I can tell you right now that, you look at the Giovanni Cabrera fight, undefeated fighter. Cabrera gave him some fits, but I always felt like Cruz was always in control of that fight. I didn't think it was anywhere near as close as the scorecards had it, but I understand it was, close fight. But nonetheless, he got the win, right? And then you had Eduardo Ramirez. I thought, knocked him out early. He destroyed Gamboa. It's okay for Haney and for Tank to fight Gamboa, right? But he fights him and destroys him in much faster fashion. And we can't tolerate that, right? We all know about, his fight with Gervonta Davis. I actually scored it for him. Okay. I actually had him edging out the fight, but it was really close. It could have gone either way. All right. So we all know about the destruction of Diego Magdaleno, right? Where he destroyed him in one round flat, right? And I get that it's performances that you scratch your head, but look, Francisco Vargas, for example, kind of expected a knockout, but he dominated the fight. He won out virtually every round, right? So we got to put everything in perspective here, okay? I think Raleigh's going to destroy. It's going to get destroyed, that is, by Pitbull Cruz. Pitbull Cruz is going to get on the inside. Pitbull Cruz is going to work that body. He's going to outbox him from the inside. I don't think Raleigh's ever really fought anyone who could fight that well on the inside. Okay. I think Isaac Cruz hits pretty hard. I don't know if he hits harder than Barroso, but he hits pretty hard. And I think he's going to be catching Rolly Romero flush several times in this fight. And the only thing I'm not sure about is if he stops him, but I know he's going to beat him. The thing with Raleigh, he was getting beat up by Barroso, got knocked out by Tank Davis. He knocked out Yigit, which was a decent fight, but Yigit didn't have the firepower to really match him. But the Jackson Marinas fight, I haven't forgotten about. And he absolutely clearly got beat in that fight. Clearly. And that is, to me, that was a robbery. nonetheless, he got the win. Here they are. I think the body work of Cruz is going to do the damage. I think when they start exchanging on the inside, Cruz is going to be compact with his guard, and he's going to get the better of the exchanges. And Raleigh also squares up a little too much at times, if not a lot, when he throws more than 2 punches at a time. And Cruz is going to eat him alive in the process. Overhand rights, you name it, they're coming. And not to mention the body attack. He's going to be in his chest a lot, and it's going to be nonstop pressure. And while Raleigh will land on Cruz, I don't think he's going to hurt Cruz. If I'm wrong, then I'm wrong, right? Like that's we'll see when he hits him, right? But Pitbull Cruz has that short, compact neck, high guard, right? You know what I mean? And he knows how to anticipate those shots, partially block them even, right? And he has Pitbull Cruz has a very, very underrated defense. Okay. He was again, I'll repeat, he was doing a great job blocking the shots of Tank Davis, right? But for whatever reason, the high guard, especially when implemented by Mexicans, for whatever reason, isn't respected as a great, for as far as defense goes, right? For whatever reason, I don't know why, right? But I guess he's not doing a shoulder roll and isn't like looking like the Matrix in there, right? But he is blocking those shots, and he's going to do that in this fight. And I see him landing bombs on Rolly Romero. I see Rolly Romero getting frustrated. Again, the target's going to be very compact. He's really good at compacting himself. And a guy like Raleigh, especially, widens the shots a lot. I just think Pitbull Cruz is going to eat him alive on the inside from mid-range to the inside. And that's just how I see it. Raleigh's going to try to, at some point, stay on the outside and try to land bombs on him. But when that happens, Pitbull Cruz is going to see those punches coming a mile away. And I think, again, you're going to see him go up and down throughout the fight. Overhand rights, work the body, get in his chest. I think frustrate Raleigh, hurt Raleigh, and I'm predicting a late stoppage, but it may go decision, and hopefully they don't rob Pitbull Cruz. But I think Pitbull Cruz should win that fight. And maybe y'all will put respect on Pitbull Cruz's name, but you won't, because I know what you're going to do. You're going to say, oh, who's Raleigh? Who's Raleigh beat? And it's just another one of those bums that Tank Davis fought, right? Tank Davis has like that. People, like, they look at his opponents and they just think he fought the bum of the month club, right? That's how they see Tank Davis opponents. And that's a stigma that's been applied to both these guys. Although I'm not that impressed with Raleigh, to be honest with you, even before he fought them. But when it comes to Pitbull Cruz, I think that is a stigma that's been put on him, right? And we'll see. We'll see if how Raleigh will handle business, and we'll keep him moving. I think he'll do good here. I know people will bring up the size. He's really short. How tall is Pitbull Cruz? Like 5 feet, 5'1"? He's 5'4" according to BoxRec, but I don't think he's 5'4". He's like 5'2". I see Pacquiao was like 5'6", towering over this dude. Ain't no way he's 5'4". I don't know what type of shoes he was wearing, those lifts, but when it did the official height test or whatever. Nah, bruh, you ain't 5'4". If you think Pitbull Cruz is 5'4", type 1 in the chat. I don't think he's 5'4". If he is, he is. But I mean, then it shouldn't be that big of a height difference. Then, you know what I mean? Raleigh's 5'8". 4 inches is significant, but it's not like. I just think there's a bigger height difference here. But I am looking for a stoppage. Okay, we got one person that believes 5'4". Okay. Well, I don't think I've ever debated with somebody if 5'4" is too tall. Like that's crazy. Like, ain't no way he's 5'4". You know what I mean? Eric Gomez is 6'2". There you go. Just fights to the level of his opposition. Is that what he's doing the whole time? But gets on his knees and boxes these guys. But I'm looking forward to this fight. I actually like the fight. For what it's worth, I like the fight. I still question why Raleigh is doing this fight and not fighting Ryan. I don't understand that yet, but like I said, we're not going to talk about that here. Looking forward to that. Let's talk about Tszyu versus Sebastian Fundora. You see, I think this is a more intriguing matchup than the Keith Thurman fight was. I thought Keith Thurman was going to get beat down. I just did. I thought, maybe he's a veteran of the game. Maybe he could pull a rabbit out of the hat and give us a great performance, but I just don't think he was, right? I questioned, and you saw it, like the fact that he got injured and tore a bicep tells you, like being off so long, like he could barely endure a training camp getting ready for Tszyu. Just imagine facing Tszyu himself, right? And so that's that. This is just my opinion. For being a last minute replacement, I don't think boxing fans in general, not everybody, are appreciating like the challenge that this is for such a last minute replacement. If this fight was announced instead of Keith Thurman and we're going into 5 weeks of training now, I'll be very confident that Tszyu takes care of business and destroys Sebastian Fundora. I would. Especially if we had tall sparring partners, working with them, preparing for that style, implementing, like having time to implement a game plan, more time for his trainer to break down film, you name it, right? Because preparation to me matters. It's an important aspect of fighting. In the sport of boxing, preparation is very, very key and important, right? Well, I speculated, knowing the character of Tim, I speculated that it's very possible this is going to be the replacement. And I have the proof. I tweeted out, and I said, look, Brian Mendoza is training with Tszyu. He is a replacement, right? So somebody gets injured, he steps in. So I figured, well, they'll probably bring up Fundora to fight Tszyu, right? And then Mendoza will step in and fight Fundora's opponent, right? What I didn't know is whether or not they'll put if the WBC belt was still going to be on the line for the other fight, or if it was going to go to Tszyu. I didn't know any of that, and we later clarified through Glenn Jennings, and then the media came out with it as well. But even in speculating it, even in it was just like an educated guess. Even in that, I still wondered, like, I honestly would not, I'm being frank here, I would not have blamed Tszyu if he would have said, like, in being proposed to fight, if he said, nah, like, I don't mind fighting Fundora, but I need to prepare for that guy. I haven't even been, like, I need to do proper sparring for that, get used to that height, and a lot of fighters would have done the same thing. Not because they don't have confidence that they'll beat him, but because everything is different, right? Like just think of it. You're preparing for a certain style and a certain height, an orthodox fighter, right? Who has punching power, but he boxes in spurts and uses his legs, but Keith Thurman kind of mixes it up as well, and a little more clever than people give him credit for. Keith, how much of that was he going to bring with him after fighting once in 5 years or winning one fight in 5 years, fighting twice in 5 years? I don't know. I have no idea, right? But you've been training for about 5 weeks or so, whatever it is, for that one style, sparring that type of opponent, implementing that game plan. And then, not only are you going from orthodox to southpaw, not only are you doing that, you're fighting a guy that's 6'6", a guy that is that's about 9 inches taller than Keith Thurman. That fights nothing like Keith Thurman. More reckless than Keith Thurman, right? That's from what he's shown. But a longer reach. At times does use the jab when he does use it, which if we assume he does use it, that could be a little bit of an issue. Is long and wiry, lands punches and angles that other fighters aren't used to because it's different, right? And different stance, different height, different style, different tempo, different type of fight. Everything's different. And you're changing the last minute. Now, we also got to give credit to Fundora, because Fundora, while I get he has a lot to gain, right, in this situation, it's hard to imagine he wouldn't say no, but nonetheless, he did take the fight. It's a unification for him, so he's more than happy to take that. You know what I mean? So I get there's a lot of upside for him to take it, but nonetheless, he's taking the fight. And even him, I'm sure, like obviously he's been training for a certain style. However, his opponent, like Fundora, is very used to fighting orthodox fighters that are about 5'9". He's used to that, right? And his opponent, right, had a closer style to Tim, right, than he has to Keith Thurman. So that's just an interesting dynamic, right? And I'll repeat, if Tszyu if he had 6 weeks to prepare for Fundora, wash. Like I have no doubt in my mind, he would wash him, steamroll him. Okay, timber. It would like I would have no doubt in my mind, but that's not the circumstance here at all. Because a lot of things people are saying are very valid. But don't get me wrong, right? Fundora is coming off a knockout, and he has been inactive for quite some time. By the way, shout out to Mr. Boxing today too. Team Batman Boxing, CCI. Let's give a quick shout out to all you guys. Chicano Prophet, Sparkling Fob, how's it going? So now, before I get to the fight, that's even though I kind of thought that's probably what they're going to do, it's still impressive for Tszyu to say, let's do it. Right? Let's go. I guess I'm fighting Fundora, right? Let's go. Right? Like, I thought that's impressive to me. And I think a lot of boxing fans are being very dismissive about that. Right? Like they're pointing out things that are true, but they're judging it from like as if Tszyu has 6 weeks to prepare for this guy. Right? Like all his other opponents did. Tszyu's never fought a guy that high. Like, you know what I mean? Now, there is some light. Like, for example, he was already sparring southpaws very early in the camp, right? Preparing for Lubin. Now, Lubin says he didn't price himself out, and he doesn't understand why Tszyu's not fighting him. Look, I'm not going to get into all the squabble shit. All I know is that they hired sparring partners to prepare for you. And PBC said you were a no-go to the no limit side. So and then they asked, well, who then? And then they offered Keith Thurman. So it is what it is. Okay. We'll talk to Uncle Al. I don't know, right? I think Lubin's asking the wrong question to the wrong people. Or the right question to the wrong people, I should say. Right? So what a miss of a like I don't want to say like they're very organized, they're very professional, they know what they're doing over there, but the circumstances is the mess. Born southpaws, say bye to the southpaws, orthodox come in, they're out, right? As you're getting ready to like slow down a training camp and all that, and things are calming down, or you're just kind of getting ready, getting settled in, all of a sudden, boom, change of opponent. Boom. 6'6", boom, southpaw, completely different style, opposite to Keith Thurman, right? And then you got to prepare for that, right? So that's very important. Keep that in mind. So, and then they called in some 6'4" and a 6'5", I believe, like sparring partners, and I haven't even had time. I don't even know if those guys are southpaw or not. I don't know if they fight it. Like Fox fights it's a little different, Fox, but the jab and the long jab, I guess. But how much work did he get in? How much could he absorb? I don't know, right? Maybe Tszyu's one of those guys who can absorb things right away, and he just spar you one time and he gets the angles and he's good, right? There's people like that, right? There's people that are so good at chess, like they'll remember scenarios and they'll remember games and how sequences went, and they'll remember what to do there, right? So who knows? Maybe he has that mind for boxing. I don't know, right? Very few do, but I just think he's dependent on. I think he's confident. I think he's in great shape, and I think he knows he'll figure it out, right? I think they know that Fundora will get reckless enough eventually, right? They'll get him out of using the distance and the jab, and that's the height of Fundora is going to turn into a disadvantage. And I'll get to that in a little bit, but I need to hit this home that I even messaged Glenn Jennings and I said, a lot of guys want to take in this fight. Again, not because they're not confident in that. Fighters are confident in themselves. You know what I mean? It's not confidence. All fighters have confidence in themselves, right? It's fortitude, right? And it's just being wired differently, all right? Because fighters have confidence when they have preparation. But going into the unknown, it's like to give you an example, one of the greatest MMA fighters of all time is John Jones. Okay? I think he's the best MMA fighter of all time. I do. Any man in history, put John Jones in there. I don't care if it's a heavyweight. I don't care if it's a Fedor in his prime. I think John Jones beats all of them. That's just my opinion. But nonetheless, one of the greatest ever to do it, right? An opponent got injured, and I believe it was Chael Sonnen that they wanted to put in last minute. And Dana was pissed off because John Jones wouldn't fight him last minute. Because he said, I was preparing for a certain style. Now they switched it on me. And I'll never forget this. John Jones literally said, what makes me great is my preparation. That's what he said. He's like, of course I believe I could beat Chael Sonnen, but the reason I'm as good as I am is my preparation for these fights, preparing, studying these guys, and preparing for that style and fighting that style, right? Now, that sounds ridiculous, especially if you saw they eventually did fight, and he annihilated Chael Sonnen, right? But he prepared for Chael Sonnen. No, I think he would have done the same thing anyway, even with a short notice, but that's his mentality, right? The mentality of Tim Tszyu's like, let's go. It's just different, right? It's a different mentality. And if he loses this fight, people are going to call him stupid. That's what they're going to do. A lot of the same people that are not impressed are going to be, oh, what an idiot. He shouldn't have fought this guy without, whatever, right? And if he wins, they're going to say, oh, of course he won because blah, 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 blah. But preparation is an aspect of the game that we don't pay that much attention to because all we look at is the final product at the end of the day, right? Like we know these fighters are training, that we know that, but I do believe that most boxing fans underestimate and don't really appreciate preparation, right? Canelo is a great fighter, but make no mistake about it, editing also studying film. And they have a game plan that they put in place for virtually all their opponents to maximize success, right? Now, that is kind of taken away from Tim Tszyu in this case, right? If you think Tim Tszyu always had let's say it's high, let's say you think he has an 80% chance of winning, I think this circumstance lowers that at least 5 to 10%. And some fighters don't like to take that risk. Like, no. If with preparation I have an 80% chance of winning, that's how I'm going to fight him. I'm not going to fight him with little preparation and have a 75 or 70% chance of winning. Because my percentage chance of winning has just dropped. still favored heavily, but it's still dropped, right? Now, I do think Fundora is a better fight than Keith Thurman. I do think he's a greater threat than Keith Thurman. It's my opinion, right? Long, wiry. When he lands flush, I mean, these guys feel it. That uppercut of his that he can land on the inside, actually, despite his height, is a vicious uppercut. And it's very difficult to time something like that, especially if you don't have proper preparation. So, with all that said, remember I said 80, but it'll drop 75, 70. That's how I feel about this fight. Like, I feel like I still heavily favor Tim, but the chances of Fundora are a little higher, right? A little higher than they would have been if Tim had full preparation for this fight. But I still favor Tim, right? So if I think Tim had an 80% chance or 85% chance of winning before, right, with preparation, now I put it at maybe a 75%, 80% chance without preparation, right? So it's a little lower, heightens the risk a little bit, right? It's not maximizing his potential to win, but he's still heavily favored in the process, okay? And I think it's him that the percentage drops a little bit, not Fundora. Because, like I said earlier, I think Fundora, his sparring has been more closely resembling his opponent than vice versa, right? Where Tim had to do a complete change. So that's why Mexican Indian said a lot of fighters wouldn't do this. Shout out to Tim, right? And I don't know if the event would have been like, let's say, like, you also got to look at it this way. Jermell pulled out, hand injury. Well, I guess we'll believe him, right? He waits on Jermell, and then Jermell last minute, when they thought they were just waiting on a date on the Jermell side, Jermell gets snatched away from Canelo. It's hard to blame Jermell to go for that payday, but you know, it's you know, whatever. But from Tim's perspective, like, fuck again. And then Lubin, he believes he's fighting Lubin. They already started sparring for a guy like Lubin, and then he's out. Lubin says he didn't pull out. Let's take his word for it. I guess PBC just didn't want Lubin, right? So for whatever reason, Lubin's out. Thurman's in. Thurman gets injured. Last minute. Now Fundora's in. So I could see why it's like, bro, I'm ready to fight. You know what I mean? I'm ready to fight. Now, what's going to help Keith? I think saying Keith. What's going to help Tszyu a lot is his activity. He's been very active, and I think he's zoned in, man, and he's sharp. Right? Tim's been sharpening that blade. Shout out to Lopito's Boxing Breakdowns. How's it going, brother? Gonzalo in the building. So, you know, and also shout out to Bruce Goss for being a member, brother. I appreciate you. Tim's sharp right now, like a razor blade. You know what I mean? And for a fighter like Tim, that's great, because Tim is a fighter that utilizes timing a lot, and he counter punches very well, and it's just sharp, right? And it could also apply pressure. The right hand of his is on point at the moment. The uppercut of his was on point in that Mendoza fight. He's in the zone right now. And from my understanding, he's 100%, right? He's focused, he's confident, and he's in the zone. Fundora, we don't know. We don't know if Fundora is in the zone or not. We could assume he is. Maybe he's not. we never know how a fighter's going to react after a knockout. They may just continue the career like nothing ever happened, like Manny Pacquiao did multiple times, right? Or they could never be the same again, right? We just don't know, right? And he has to fight somebody to know. Now, for him, it's going to be a buzzsaw like Tim. So what I'll say is this: if you heard me earlier, I said if Tim had preparation, I would be like, this he's going to destroy Fundora. Like I would be very confident saying that, like very confident, like bet the mortgage confident. No, I'm not bet the mortgage confident for this, like with little preparation, but I'm still very confident. I'm like $100 confident. I'll bet on it, or, for example, right? Just to put it in perspective. But I do think Tim's going to win. I do think he's going to stop Fundora, right? I do believe that. Because as big as the gap in height is, you see them standing next to each other? You see these dudes? It reminded me of Apollo Creed telling Rocky, I'm sorry, Rocky telling Apollo Creed, I'm reversing the names today. You know, Apollo, the first thing you're going to have to do is get yourself a ladder. You know what I mean? You're going to have to get yourself a ladder, Apollo. You got to get yourself a ladder, huh? Like that's the first thing I thought about. Huge height difference. I thought of Rey Mysterio and the Great Khali. I thought of Floyd and the Big Show. First things I thought about. God damn. Tim's 5'9", I believe. And Fundora's 6'6", like 6'5.5", I believe. Tall dude. You look at him. I don't even know how he makes 154. I get he's skinny, but still, right? And very interesting, right? Looking at the height, but as big as the gap in the height is, as big as that is, right? I think the gap in skill is even wider when it comes to Tszyu and Fundora. Oh, yeah. There's a wider gap in skill than there is in height. The skill in the favor of Tszyu, height in the favor of Fundora. There's a wider gap. And also that there's quite a difference in speed. When Tszyu is the faster guy, I have anyone who beats Tim, in my opinion, is gonna have to be faster than him. I don't see anyone slower than Tszyu beating him. Like I'm just being honest, because he's pretty quick, and he's, in my opinion, he's faster than Fundora, and I think it's quite a difference. I also think his reflexes are far better than Fundora's as well, quite frankly. So there's a gap in reflexes, right? Like there just is. So when you look at the reflex of speed, and he's also more patient than Fundora. You're not going to beat, like, Fundora just isn't going to beat him in the game of patience. He just isn't going to do it. It's not going to happen. Book it. It ain't going to happen, right? He's going to have to. First of all, I think Fundora is going to bring volume, and I think that is his only chance to really win. But at the same time, that's going to get him knocked out, right? So I just think the height, I know people look at it and you think, I never use a term height advantage. And I got that from Calix, actually, because I used to say it all the time. Oh, the height advantage goes to this guy. All right? I don't say it anymore. I say height difference. That's all I say. Because the advantage, whether you're a tall guy or a short guy, depends on your game plan and who could implement their style on the other guy, right? And I do think Tszyu is going to keep it at a perfect range, right? At the perfect range where Fundora has to wind up with the long arms, and Tim's going to be able to be a sharpshooter down the pipe, and geometry just doesn't, you can't go against geometry. Like, you know what I mean? A straight line is going to beat anything coming at a circular motion any day of the week. That's why for over a century now, the jab has been the most effective punch in boxing, right? The jab is straight down the pipe, right? Sometimes up jab or whatnot, but it's down the pipe, right? That's why the 1-2 is so effective, right? Over a century later, world-class fighters are still getting hit with a 1-2, right? And Tim, it just isn't. And his dad was a lot like this too. Like, there's no like they don't telegraph the punch. Even as a viewer, when you're watching, like, you don't know where he's going to throw it. It's just boom, he just hit him, right? And it's important to note this, right? So if you ever driving down the street, right, in the freeway, your neighborhood, whatever, and you're behind a vehicle, right? When they brake, right? Like if you were to be tailgating them, right? The reason you're not supposed to tailgate is the brain, for most of us, unless you have crazy reflexes, right? Some people have like crazy reflexes, but most people, when you brake, like if you do a sudden brake, this is why you're supposed to have a certain distance, right? I'm sure, I don't know if you guys remember when you got your driver's license, like they told you like you got to be at least 25 feet or whatever it is. I don't even remember now, but a certain feet away from the vehicle, right? You got to be a certain distance away. There's a reason for that. Because if they brake suddenly, you're going just 30 miles per hour. The brain is not going to react fast enough. Okay, it doesn't react quick enough if you don't have that distance. If you're tailgating them, you're only like 5-6 feet away, right? Boxers are really close to each other. When you hit that, like if in the vehicle, you hit that brake, boom, there's a collision, right? By the time you react, you already hit the car. That is why you have to be a certain distance away. That's also why, okay? Because we have a hard time gauging when something comes close to us, right? Especially at a rapid speed, gauging when, right? Like we have a hard time gauging that, right? However, signals, right? Like signals can make you react faster. So that's why in vehicles, when they press the brake lights come on. That's why the brake lights are necessary. That's why your brake lights aren't working. The cop pulls you over, right? And it gives you that pink slip that says, sir, you got to get those brake lights working, right? Because it signals to the person behind you to stop, right? Because we react faster to it. Then when the vehicle suddenly stops, we don't quite know. So, but what I'm saying is this. When Tszyu is postured, or whatever it is, right? He just shoots it. By the time you even realize he's throwing it, he's landing. Which is why Harrison was getting caught. And in his mind, it's like, how am I getting hit? He couldn't get the timing down. So they're going to be at a range where Tszyu is going to see the shots coming because Fundora is going to have to. Now, this at the same time makes Fundora a little dangerous, right? But if he, if he needs to wind up the shots, right? And Tszyu's able to get him at a distance, especially the overhand ride or whatever it is, right? But the shots are straight, which Tszyu's really good at. He's one of the best in the game at throwing those straight shots down the pipe, right? Then Fundora has no shot. If Fundora can't stop that, he's in trouble. Fundora's going to have to use his jab from a distance and keep this guy at a distance. It's what he's going to have to do. He did a little bit against Mendoza early in that fight. And I'm sure after getting knocked out, he's going to attempt to be more responsible and maybe guard his shin more, use the jab and all that. But I just think eventually he's going to lose patience, right? And he's going to resort to the old Fundora, especially when he starts getting hit. That's number one. Second, even if he stays patient, even if he doesn't lose his quad, like I believe he will, I do believe that I do believe that Tszyu will, like, he has enough room to bend the knees, duck under the jab, and slip the jab and get him to the body. Tim is a vicious body puncher with amazing punch placement. Like it is a beautiful thing what he does when it comes to that body work, right? It is a science of violence. And that long torso of Fundora is going to be open when Tim slips that jab. Like it's going to be wide open, right? Another thing that's going to be open, Fundora has a jab moving down, right? Typically, you want to throw the jab a little high. You want to throw it high to block your chin. But if Tim has a right angle and this guy's jabbing downward, he's going to be open. Like, it's going to happen, right? And he's got that long neck. And I'm telling you right now, Fundora can't, unless he were to bend the knees, he can't jab really like fighters around the same height could jab. Fundora's going to have to use his feet, jab from distance, and that's not what Fundora does. Fundora ain't no Ali. Like, he just isn't even like a Tyson Fury who could jab on the move and throw his 1-2 and keep moving. That's just not how he fights. He's going to be very stationary throwing a jab. So he might have some success with it early because at the end of the day, the distance is crazy. Like I don't. He has like a crazy reach, bro. I think somebody said earlier, like longer than Klitschko or some shit like that, or around. Like, it's crazy, right? And so it's gonna be a problem for a little bit, but once Tim gets inside, once Tim works the body, like I believe he will, right? That's a lot of torso, man. That's a lot of mass to land on, a lot. And then I know he's like wiry, so it's like that. There's not a lot of cushion there when those shots land, right? I think it's gonna hurt him to the body. I think there's gonna be some overhand rights from Tim landing in this fight, and I predict another vicious knockout. And I see Tower Inferno getting put out. I see the Tower Inferno. It's going to be Timber. He's going to fall right down. A knockout I'm thinking about is that Ann Wolf knockout when she knocked out that tall girl. For some reason, I'm just thinking about that fight. And I think it's going to be something like that. And if it's not like that, it'll just be a stoppage, right? I just think the body work, the shots upstairs, and I don't think Fundora's fought somebody who hits as hard as Tim either. Although it's debatable him or Mendoza, but we'll see. Okay, so that's my prediction. That's what I think. I still think there's going to be some problems in the first 2-3 rounds for Tim. I think Fundora will be throwing back. He might even land some on Tim because he's long, he's wiry, awkward. He might get something in there. I don't think he's going to really hurt Tim, like to the point where Tim is in trouble. It's boxing. Anything could happen, but I don't think that's going to happen. But I think he'll catch him with some good shots. But here's the difference. When Tim gets hit, he's, as long as he doesn't have that urge to get right back in there, he should be fine. You know what I mean? It should be okay. Banda Ward. Was that her name? Okay. But I do see a big right hand just like that landing. And another thing, and I talked this with Jesus Ramos when we talked about the fight with Mendoza and Fundora, and Ramos in that interview told us, like, I always kind of saw like the hook open, right? And he's like, I saw Mendoza, like just barely missing it. He just had to make a little adjustment, right? And then eventually he found it, right? It was like it was getting closer and closer and closer, and finally he landed it and then finished him. So Tim's hook could do some damage as well. So don't be shocked if that lands as well. I just think the money punch is going to be the overhand. I don't unless Fundora is hurt to the body or is hurt and crouches down for whatever reason. I don't see Tszyu's uppercut being used that much in this fight. I could be wrong, but I don't really see it happening. I mean, the only thing Tszyu could uppercut is his ball sack. You know what I mean? Like, I don't like that's a tall ass dude, but maybe in a finishing sequence, maybe the uppercut lands. We'll see. You know what I mean? But those are my thoughts. I have Tszyu and Rolly Romero winning by stoppage. I think Tszyu by mid-round stoppage. Probably a one-punch knockout type finish. And I have Rolly Romero stopping him like a TKO style against Rolly Romero late in that fight. And I'm thinking it's either that or a decision for Rolly, but that's how I think the fights are going to go. We have a whole week. I'm gonna have more to say about the fight, but I just wanted to talk about the fights without all the extra stuff for at least this video, right? And just a lot is gonna happen. Don't forget the roundtable will be on Wednesday, okay, on this channel. And this week, because I am going to Vegas, okay? I'll be in Las Vegas for the fights. And shout out to, I know Christine will be out there, like a couple people will be out there, and looking forward to meeting Glenn Jennings and the whole team out there. So shout out to them, and I'm looking forward to enjoying the fights, going to the weigh-in, take the whole experience in. I'm here for a long time, ladies and gentlemen. I'm here for a good time, right? The hell with the red wine. Bring me some moonshine, in the words of George Strait. With that said, that's all I got. And tell me what you think. If you haven't already, if you're listening right now, hit the like button. It's much appreciated. This is D-Style Boxing. Hey guys, you know what I say. Keep it boxing. I'm out.
11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2. What a fight!